Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the crappiest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I got my man in the building, Donovan Sadiq. I got the Queen, Demetra K. And I am the 5-star general. They done pissed Deion Sanders off. You had 200 and almost 50 people get drafted into the NFL, and not one player from an HBCU. We're going to talk about it. And also, some family from one of the people dead in the insurrection say they suing because they shouldn't have shot him. Let's get to it, man. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone and tell you thank you. You know, without you guys, we would not have a show. And, you know, I appreciate you tuning in as well as my co-host because you're the best audience in the world. I want to lead it off with something, and I know I'm going to make a couple of y'all mad, but, I mean, it's what it is. You know, yesterday, a murder suspect and his kidnapped baby son died after a shootout. I was watching some of the comments, how people were saying that, you know, they shouldn't have shot. And this man was shooting at them. So the person to totally blame for that child being dead is the guy that ended up killing 2 people before he ended up in that shootout on the freeway. He's the reason that baby is dead. And, you know, every now and then, you know, it's what it is. You're going to have to tell the truth on it. So I don't see how the people who were saying, oh, they wrong. No, he was bucking at them. And, you know, if that's the case, they had to defend themselves and defend them people on the road. Donovan, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, it's hump day. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Woo! And we're making it without getting police harassed, you're doing a good job. But speaking of police harassment, they are saying that actually the police encounters, deadly encounters with Black people is up 57%. Not everybody's dying, but people are getting cracked over the head. I don't know if you guys saw on CNN early this morning, there was a Atlanta police officer. I guess he's a safety officer at a school. He went viral in a TikTok video where he just lost it and said that all cops are not bad. Now, this is a Black cop, another bootlick that we go out there. And I always say this when they say that all cops aren't bad, is how many internal investigations have you initiated, Mr. Good Black Cop? Because if you haven't initiated anything, you are part of the problem. So, you know, he went off and did his thing. And again, you know, we have these people in positions, and now that they're being held to task, you've got these bootlicks that come out and they want to cape for, you know, their job and their master. These people know damn well when you got to tell your children how to act as a Black person, there's a problem. So, well, we'll see how that goes. President Joe Biden is making the rounds as he's trying to sell his infrastructure bill. Of course, he's not going to any Black people or any Black businesses because there are none. And he is going to some of the minority groups that have these construction companies and trying to pitch these bills as they move forward. So a lot more stuff going on in the news, but nothing of major importance right now.
I just want to quickly say, I disagree. I mean, I know the guy shot back or whatever, but I think there was a different way they could have approached that, especially since they knew that he had his baby in the car. But that's a subject for a different night. So anyway, if you guys could do us a favor and share this live so that everybody else can get the information and join the conversation, we would greatly appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about quite a few things, but first we want to start off with that of Deion Sanders. You guys know he is an NFL Hall of Famer, and he is now coach at Jackson State at a university in Mississippi. Well, he took to his Instagram and he was upset because he said no HBCU students, or grads rather, were drafted into the NFL draft that they have from April 29th through May 1st. And actually, this is the 9th time since the year 2000 that an HBCU grad has gone undrafted. And so he said a few things on his Instagram. And one of the things he said was, There were 259 picks in the 2021 NFL draft. Not a single draft pick featured a player from an HBCU. He also says, and we have the audacity to hate on one another while our children are being neglected and rejected. I witnessed a multitude of kids that we played against that were more than qualified to be drafted. My prayers are that this won't ever happen again. Get your knife out my back and we fight and fight with me, not against me. So he's mad at us, I guess, saying that we need to work together and our kids are being neglected and rejected. And I'm assuming he's talking about the NFL rejecting our children and not drafting them. So then he went on to fashion a camp that he's inviting the head coaches from HBCUs to come out on Juneteenth. Juneteenth, you guys know, is significant with the Black community. It's the day that we all were free. Texas, Galveston to be exact, got the word on June 19th, 1865, that slavery was over. 2 years after it was actually over. So he's inviting them out. And he's also inviting kids, high school from 9th grade to 12th grade to come out and, you know, do their thing. And he says that there will be scholarships on the spot for, you know, the some of the players who are worthy of a scholarship. So he also said that the combines that the NFL have, that they usually have one separately for HBCUs and then for all the other colleges, and he wants that to stop. He feels like the combines should be held together and not separately. And so me personally, I have a whole bunch of issues with what Deion is wanting. First of all, we know that the NFL is never going to be, how can I say this, friendly toward Black people, especially as far as ownership. We know that around 70% of the players are Black, but there are no Black owners and very few Black head coaches. And so he's asking for something that the NFL has never given Black people, right? And so I'm like, well, if you can fashion a camp, why can't you say, okay, you know, even if we start small, let's do our own thing. Let's have our own league. But to lament and blame, you know, I guess Black parents for the NFL shunning HBCU students, I think that's a stretch, and him not really just calling a spade and saying that is not what the NFL wanted. They're not pro-Black, regardless of how we look at it. And finally, you know, he's teaching kids that you should continue to beg massa to include you in their thing. That's the same thing that happened with civil rights. We wanted to be included so bad, and it helped dilapidate the Black community. And so, you know, he's wanting them to be together. And it's like, why don't you teach these kids that the NFL really, they need you. If all the Black talent left the NFL, it would be like watching a mayonnaise sandwich dance around the room, you know? So I don't know. You guys, what are your thoughts?
Well, let me get into it, man. I'm a Coach Prime fan. I've been a Deion Sanders fan since he did the infamous interview, you know, after the draft when they drafted him, you know, well, before the draft when they drafted him, and told if the wrong team drafted him, they would have to put him on layaway. So, first of all, let me say this to Deion. Shut the hell up and win some football games. That's the first thing you need to do, is shut the hell up and win some football games. You know, the greatest football player of all time is a 1984 graduate. To me, the greatest one of all time, a 1984 graduate. And this is not me reading off of a screen. This is something I know. Mississippi Valley State and Jerry Rice. 1984 graduate. Quarterback was Willie Satellite Totten. The only time that they huddled up was when they got off the bus to exercise. Archie Cooley was the inventor of the no-huddle offense. Some of the greatest players in NFL history have come from HBCUs. Some of the greatest of all time, Steve McNair, Walter Payton, you know, Art Shell, you know, folks like it's so many, that Deacon Jones, it's so many. Coach Prime, you need to shut the hell up and win some football games. You wasn't saying none of this 8 months ago when you were sitting in the NFL studios. You wasn't saying none of this during your career when you were in the NFL and you were balling and having fun. Now you trying to be politically correct. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I mean, I wish that black kids would go to HBCUs, but these kids pick the best routes for themselves. So the kids that go to HBCUs, you already know it's gonna be hard as hell. Ask Michael Strahan. Well, you don't have to ask him. He in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Graduate of Texas Southern University. Just do the damn work, man. No matter how you get to the NFL, whether it's by being drafted, whether it's by being a free agent, put the work in. And more importantly, Deion, unless you're going to do what Demetrius say and call out those people who control that game, then just shut your ass up and go win some football games, homeboy.
Yeah, see, that's what I don't understand, the hypocrisy of a lot of our former athletes and superstar greats. Like I said, I like Prime when he put his album out with Hammer. I don't know if you guys remember that video, him and Hammer, they tried to do a singing career, but that's why he was prime time. But, he knows how the business works. He knows how the model works. He was in it. So knowing that there are no black owners and stuff, instead of him hollering and complaining and screaming about what the NFL should do, why isn't he getting his fellow homeboys and them putting a bid in to get a team to join the NFL, or like Demetrius said, start your own? But, they have enough money between, how many people you need to get to make a bid to have a team within the NFL if that's what you want to do. We all know the hardest division in college football is the SEC. Everybody knows that. All these big prime, everybody you could name, is in that. All from Texas. A lot of it's from Texas and Oklahoma in that little corridor right there. All these big time players. A person we had on the show, Vince Young, one of the college all-time greats. He had a great professional career, but Vince Young is known as one of the greatest athletes that ever came out of college, especially in the SEC, where he played down there. And but I don't understand how you're.
Vince played in the Big 12.
Oh, he played in the Big 12. Sorry, Big 12. But how do you sit there and like get mad at the master for his game when you could form your own? It just doesn't make sense. They don't have to. There's nothing that says they have to pick from the HBCUs. There's nothing that says that. But again, we always complain after the fact because, like you said, 5-star, when he won his first 3 games starting this season, he wasn't saying a word. And then when the season started tanking, all of a sudden now he has problems.
I just think that I could honestly say, oh, he's right. Deion, you just saying what you need to say to get some folk to come down to your school, man. You trying to make this shit sound good. But at the end of the day, man, I got several homies that made it to the NFL. One of them I played with, on my team in high school. Was one of the greatest running backs to ever do it. And you know it, Deion. He didn't even go to an HBCU. He went to Texas A&I University. But from Texas A&I University, you had several cats. You had Darryl Green that made it one of the best cornerbacks to ever play in the NFL. My partner, Johnny Bailey, the only 3-time Harlan Hill Trophy winner, the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy in Division II. And the only reason he didn't win it 4 years, they didn't give it to freshmen. But he led the country in rushing, and that included a little guy from Florida named Emmitt Smith, who he outrushed his freshman year. So the bottom line is, that's them people game, Deion. You ain't finna make them people change their game, man. You ain't finna make them people change their game. Now, you came in with all the fanfare and the fine. You went got all the recruits, and your ass couldn't win but 3 games. Let's just be honest with it, man. Shut your mouth and coach the football team. That's what you need to do. Because I'm going to tell you, Demetri, and you might know this too, because, I don't know if you ever been. I've been fired from a job. Deion, they will fire your ass if you don't win enough ball games. They don't give a damn about you being Coach Prime.
I want to say this too on the opposite side of that. Shaquille O'Neal's son, Shakir, he is going to an HBCU, Texas Southern, to be exact. and he had his choices of a lot of schools, including UCLA, but he said he chose to go to an HBCU, because that's where he believes that his talent should go, and he's hoping and believes that other players will follow him in going to an HBCU, and so I think that's really admirable. Doing that will also help the HBCUs, raise their real estate in every way, shape, and form. Make it, I guess this is probably the wrong word for sports, but fashionable for people to go. And so we are starting to see, a few players who are top notch in college or actually in high school choose the HBCUs opposed to the prestigious, not that HBCUs are not, but prestigious Ivy League schools and things like that. And so, I'm not mad at Shaquille's son for doing that. And I agree with him. I think more people will say, hey, you know what? Why are we going to these, white schools? Let's call it what it is. Why are we going to these white schools when we can be going to give our talents to our own schools?
Well, a lot of them go to the white schools, and let's just be honest, because they ain't got the GPA to go to Alabama. They ain't got the SAT score to go to Alabama. I done seen so many of these kids just struggle just to get into a Texas Southern University. Graduating, you look at it. I mean, if you understand education, one of the biggest problems I see is our children graduating with high GPAs, or they the salutatorian of their class, and then they got to go to Texas Southern University and take remedial courses. Where the hell they do that at? You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna read Kanitra's post. It's on another page. I think it's unfair for y'all to say that in his youth, perhaps didn't have the knowledge to know what he knows now. He's invested a lot of his own money into other folks' kids. Under Armour invested money into Jackson State University. Deion Sanders ain't pouring no money into Jackson State University. Yeah, he has the ability as a sports figure to get people to come in and do some things. But I'm telling y'all, I've seen some talent right out of my own high school that should have been Division I, that just didn't have the grades to go. And I salute Shaq's son for choosing the Texas Southern University. It's a great school, one of the top law schools in the country. If you want to be a lawyer, to go to Texas Southern University. But I'm just saying that a lot of these kids, I think that if you get a scholarship, no matter where, then you take it and you run with it. It's free, But when it comes to the NFL, there's less than a 1% chance that any of them will make it to the big leagues. So whether they catch on as a free agent or whatever, I mean, you blessed. But like I said, Deion wasn't saying this 6 months ago. He wasn't saying this 6 months ago. At the end of the day, you brought your boys over with you to Jackson State. Everybody applaud that, but tell the real. Didn't you open a high school down in the Dallas area, a charter school? Didn't they kick you off the board, Deion? Because people were manipulating grades? Deion, shut your mouth and coach football, man.
Yeah. Especially it's kind of hard for the HBCUs also to compete and attracting some of these kids. Because let's face it, Shaq, as we're talking about Shaq's son, he went to Love Shack University, LSU. I mean, these guys come with big packages, big money, and they offer these kids a once in a lifetime type deal. What's that? He was a running back here at USC, one of the best ones ever came out there and had to give his Heisman Trophy back. I mean, Reggie Bush, a good example. They gave him this, and he was a good player and everything. And here we are growing up in the hood or wherever we're at, and sometimes we don't have to take the money, but you got Uncle Rufus over there that's negotiating your deals, and he's doing something behind the scenes and all this other stuff, and then you're caught up in all this stuff because they want this specific player. And the thing is, Deion knows the game because he was in the farm system, so he knows what's going on over there. He knows the two different camps that these kids have to go through and what they pick and what they don't pick. If you are really that good The NFL is going to come find you. There's just no doubt about that. They're going to come find you. You have kids that will start at the junior college because their grades aren't good, have to go back to the junior college, then come back up. So, I mean, if they really want you that bad enough and you're that good, you're going to make it.
I don't want to beat Deion up too bad. I mean,
I do.
I see. I don't want to beat him up too bad. I mean, I think he makes a good point in saying, 259 HBCU grads and nobody was drafted. And like you said, that's the 9th time it's happened since the year 2000. I mean, so I just fail to believe that no one out of all those students from an HBCU was worthy of a draft. But then again, I don't really know. But, I don't. And then again, I mean, these athletes like Shaq's son, he said, I want to change the narrative. And so I think we need to give them a chance to change the narrative instead of trying to find negative things about what they're doing. I mean, because he don't even have to play. His mama and his daddy is balling. But he's taking his talents and he's going to an HBCU, and he said it was his words to change the narrative. And I'm assuming the narrative is that HBCUs are not as good as the white schools. And so I'm not mad at him for doing that. And, I think 6 months ago, Deion didn't have the issue of, no HBCU grads not being drafted. And I can see why he would take it personal for however good or bad a coach he is. He's a coach for HBCU. So I don't think he's wrong for raising the issue.
I don't think he's wrong for raising the issue, but I think he's an opportunist. That's what I feel. I think it's just the thing to say right now. I mean, I'm gonna switch over and you tell me if you can see me. Can y'all still see me? Can you still see me, Demetri and Donovan? Hold on.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see me.
Yes.
So Deion, hold on a second. Let me look at something. So I want Deion to remember. And Donovan, I'm gonna name some names and you tell me. Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Deacon Jones, Willie Neal, Buck Buchanan, Mel Blunt, Marion Motley, Willie Davis, Willie Brown, Kenny Houston, Art Shell, Lim Barney, Larry Little, Richard Dent. We talking about some of the greatest to ever do it, straight out of HBCU. And some of these dudes didn't even get drafted. So the thing is, he's an opportunist right now. I love him. I love Deion. I love his swagger. That's the way I coach my DBs when I coach. If you're going to talk the talk, then you sit on his island and you don't let them catch nothing. I get that. But at the end of the day, they're not going to change who they are in the NFL. Whether it's black quarterbacks, look at the route Cam Newton took. Cam Newton went to Blinn Junior College. You see what I'm saying? You're going to have to ball out if you want to be there. You're going to have to ball out. And as good as he thinks some of these kids are, a lot of people, they need to go to HBCUs. Okay, I don't have a problem with them going to HBCUs. But goddamn it, HBCUs ain't playing on ABC every Sunday. They ain't playing in a stadium with 100,000 people. They ain't got Nick Saban on the sideline. You see what I'm saying? I got a friend just signed yesterday, and he in your neck of the woods. Donovan, he was San Diego Chargers night with the Cleveland Browns. Damian Square. Square was a player at Yates that I would walk in the weight room and see and tell him you ain't working hard enough. But after 3 national championships with Saban, you could be the worst player on Saban's team, and you will go to the NFL. Now, Deion, you're going to have to step it up. You're going to have to get Jackson State to build a multi-billion-dollar stadium. They're going to have some new facilities for these kids. These kids like the bright lights. And if that ain't what they playing under, they ain't coming, Deion. I want them to go, but they ain't coming, bro. Yeah, you get 1 or 2 every now and then. But then you got hundreds and hundreds of them that just go the route that they go. And at the end of the day, Coach Prime, you better win some football games with all that talent you say you got. Because if you don't win some football game, homie, you're going to be in the unemployment line trying to get you a stimulus check.
Yeah, what's the other brother? He's a legendary running back. He just took over Tennessee State as a coach.
I know who you're talking about. The name escapes
Yeah,
me right now.
I can't remember. He's married to one of the members of SWV. God, it's on tip of my
Eddie
tongue.
George.
Eddie George.
Eddie George. Yeah, Eddie George. You know, he's another one, you know, that's been in the system. He knows what the plantation's about. And when I say the plantation, I'm talking about the NFL itself. I mean, you got Jerry Jones up in there. Now, if my man Al Davis was still alive and Prime is talking like that, man, come on, nah, that wouldn't even be going. That wouldn't even be happening because, like I said, they're on the plantation there. You're not going to dictate to the master how he's going to run that plantation. It's just not going to happen.
Well, you know, he need to worry about the players that he got on his team going into the transfer portal and leaving Jackson State. You know, you got 2 quarterbacks leaving you right now because you've already anointed your son the starting quarterback. You see what I'm saying? For next year. If that don't work, bro, he gonna look stupid. I'm telling y'all.
Jamarcus, how you doing? You say kids want to play on TV and fly to the games, I think you're saying, and not have to ride on the bus for 5 hours. Plus, the facilities are a lot better. Well, I mean, if you take into account what Shaquille O'Neal's son, Shakir, has said, that he wants to change the narrative, okay? Now, if to me, when I hear that argument, because this is what I hear. I hear, well, I don't want to go to the black businesses because their prices is too high. I'm going to have to pay more if I go to the black businesses. But the other side of that is if we all start going to the black businesses could bring their prices down. So I say that to say is if a lot of these star athletes that are in high school, they go to these HBCUs, then they will come to them. But that's not going to happen as long as they keep going to the schools that already got millions and billions of dollars. Of course, the TV is going to go to those schools. But if the talent starts saying, you know what, while I probably would be on TV at UCLA or USC or whatever, I'm going to go take my talent to my people. And then they will come. It's just really that simple. But we got to stop. And that's what's wrong with us as black people. We want the glitz and the glam, but we really don't want to have to work for it. Stop expecting for white people to put you on. We need to put ourselves on. I mean, I don't get it.
Well, I'm going to say this here so I can go and piss off a bunch of y'all. Yeah, the kids say he want to change the game. No, you don't want to change the game. You was 3 stars, homeboy. You really wasn't that good to begin with. That's why you running your ass over to TSU. Tell the truth.
But see,
your brother at LSU is a whole lot better than him. So why nobody beating up the brother for going to LSU?
I think that's below the belt simply because
it's not below the belt. It's the truth.
It is.
He's a 3-star athlete. That means they got some special ed kids out there that can hoop better than him.
But he is a 3-star athlete, right? So he wasn't at the top of the list. But he also had other offers, UCLA being one of them. So he could have gone to a quote-unquote better school if he wanted to, but he did not choose to do that. And hell, like I said, his daddy is Shaquille O'Neal. I'm sure his daddy could have did a Dr. Dre and put his kid in. Let me finish. He could have put his kid wherever he wanted to put his kid. But I just think when we try to tear people down and say, well, he wasn't that good anyway, it really takes away from the overall narrative of him wanting to change the narrative that the HBCUs are not that good.
Well, the HBCUs get federal and state funding. What the hell are they doing with the money besides stealing most of it? We've had that problem at Texas Southern University for a while. Money just coming up missing. Prairie View A&M, God bless you, built them a multi-million-dollar stadium. Prairie View getting athletes from all over the country now. You know, and at the bottom line is Texas Southern University still plays in Durley Stadium on the football side on their campus. You play in a stadium don't even look like a high school stadium. What kid want to go there?
Yeah, you know, I just want to add to the thing about UCLA. I don't think that's a good narrative because UCLA is now known as, if you're a high-profile person like Snoop Dogg or Puff Daddy, it's not hard to get on the team because of the notoriety of your family. So I'm not saying UCLA doesn't have a great program, But in Hollywood here in California, Dimitri, you know, if your dad is one of those things, you could be on the team just because you're going to sell tickets and whatever, and Snoop's on the sidelines or whatever. So I have to agree, as an athlete and somebody who played sports, not saying that you don't know what you're talking about, but it's just like the 5-star said. He's a 3-star athlete. If he was really that good, he would not go to the HBCUs. Let me finish.
Y'all some crabs. That's what you guys are.
No, he wouldn't go.
Y'all some straight up crabs, because how y'all know that boy is not telling the truth when he says it? He's not the first person that said that.
He's 3 stars, D.
It don't matter what he is. He had options. He had options. And that's what I'm saying. What we do is we kill. When I say killed, I don't mean physically, but we kill our own by saying, "Well, he wasn't that good." What he's saying is right. And the crazy part about him, he's a child and he gets it. But you got grown ass men who talk about he wasn't that good anyway. That sounds like some hate.
You know what I like? You know what I like about Michael Jordan? He didn't force his boys to go anywhere. They picked their schools. They didn't pick top-notch schools. Their careers were just basic careers. And at the end of the day, when it didn't pan out, they went to work for their daddy. But he didn't use his name to try to get them into whether it was an HBCU or a big school. He stepped away from it. He stepped away. And truth be told, yeah, he went to TSU because Shaq is good friends with the coach. So maybe, I'm going to be honest, they can get in the paper and say what they want to say. I'm doing it. Dude, you was a 3-star athlete, and they got some special ed kids out there that'll dunk on your ass all day long.
Yeah, because a good example, like Snoop's son. His son walked away from football to go pursue a movie background and directing and making movies and stuff, which is great. I give him big ups to that. But the reason why he really stepped away was the fact that he was getting done up dirty by kids coming out of Pasadena and stuff that were better than him. It's just a simple cut and dry. And then when the wheel meets the road, the facts are the facts. When it comes down to it, the best players are going to play, and the other players are either going to sit the bench or they're going to get cut. And that's just how it works.
But what does that got to do with his son saying he wants to change the narrative? Y'all done found all kind of reasons. Oh, he ain't no
good. Lying.
How you know that?
He lying. He a 3-star athlete. He lying.
How do you know he's lying when he says he wants to change the narrative?
Man, that man don't want to change no narrative. Now, if you want to change the narrative, let's wait till LeBron's son come out. When he come out of high school and he go to an HBCU, now we talking something now. But I'm just telling you that Bronny James is a 5-star recruit.
We ain't talking about Bronny. We ain't talking about Bronny.
This boy here is average. I'm sorry, he's average.
Nobody's disputing his playing abilities. What we are talking about is him changing to the narrative, and he's right. He is absolutely right. That
he can't change the narrative, young lady, until them HBCUs upgrade their facilities. They have to upgrade their facilities. That's why Prairie View A&M built that stadium.
But have you ever heard if you build it, they will come? If you go, they will follow. And that's what he said. I'm hoping that everybody else will follow my lead. That's what you call practicing group economics at the end of the day. But I understand that a lot of people are missing the bigger point because y'all want to talk about he ain't no good. But what he's trying to do is change the narrative for other Black players and HBCUs as a whole.
When you go to the defending SWAC champions that just made the NCAA tournament, they ain't no goddamn slouch. He gonna have to bring it, partner. Your daddy name ain't finna carry no weight over here. Them boys balling down there in that gym on Texas Southern campus. And I'm just being honest with you. I mean, I would love for all these Black kids to go to an HBCU. I've said that before. But at the end of the day, let's talk to the parents. Because this is deeper than HBCUs. These same parents won't send their kids to inner city Black schools. Oh, you want to talk to me? Y'all want to talk to me? You parents that's out there running your mouth right now. You live in the hood, but you transport your child every day to the Shadow Creeks, to the Lamars. You won't let them go to the Yateses and the Booker T's. But now when it come to college, you know, it is what it is. You know how many black kids go to Katy, who's supposed to be the staple of high school football in Texas right now? And how many black kids don't get recognized? They don't get looked at. You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest, I'm a Coach Prime fan. Jermaine Venters Sr. is on this channel right now. I called this man yesterday because his son wants to play for Deion. Say, man, you know they got a camp on this day. You need to send your boy down there. You see what I'm saying? But as a father, he left his son, and I'm talking about hands like Jerry Rice. Deuce got hands like Jerry Rice. Kid make all district last year and ain't catch but 12 balls. Where you hear this at, Donovan? But he took his son to a black high school. Now, if you want him to go to HBCU and you want to dictate everything in his future, then why don't you start taking them where they need to play? Because the Yateses, the Worthers, the Booker T's, the Wheatleys, they still there. But they ain't good enough for you. You want your son to play in them lights out in Shadow Creek. Same shit, just on a different level.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be like the Christian Laettner thing? Remember, he was supposed to be the great white hype, the greatest white player that ever played of all times. He gets into the NBA and he's an average player. And I know where you're going with it, Dimitri. I know what you're saying and stuff like that, but it's just not gonna happen when there's so many opportunities at the big colleges that's just too attractive for everybody else. A good example, Cam Newton was a prime example. This guy was balling in high school, didn't necessarily have the grades, went to junior college for a year, dominated basically by himself. He looked like a grown man playing with sixth graders, then went to Auburn for 1 year and then was a NFL draft pick.
I want to give Dee the backstory real quick. Texas Southern University is on the radar right now with us with what we're talking about. Jackie A. Senior High School sits in a 2-block radius of Texas Southern University and the University of Houston. We were ranked the number 2 team in the country. 5 of my teammates made it to the pros. TSU never walked across the goddamn street to recruit none of us. Never showed up and recruited none of us. We wasn't good enough to play for them. So it's a lot of HBCUs that's sleeping on the talent because they don't want to get their ass out there and go get them kids. 1985, not one TSU coach came across that street. But I'd be damned if Jimmy Johnson and Hayden Fry, Barry Switzer them didn't come get them.
Dimitri's just sitting there like, okay. No, but but that's the game. Like I said, hopefully, it would change the game, but I don't think it will because there's not enough HBCU colleges out there really to make a difference. Somebody said in the comments that what the Southern Classic is televised. That's like the only real one that's televised, and it's televised on BET. It's not really even on ABC and and all these other networks. So with the TV contracts, that's a big thing too. And the slave master does not want to cut any more pieces of the pie with HBCUs when it comes to that money.
A lot of these black parents want to cut some deals behind the scenes when it's time for them kids to go to college. So they ain't getting that money from the TSUs and from the Prairie Views and from the Jackson States. They get that money from Alabama, UCLA, Oklahoma, Oregon. It's those kids' decision where they want to go. And if a kid been playing in that park all them years, now he played middle school, he played high school, and it's his choice. If he chooses to go to an HBCU, you gonna have to ball out. You gotta ball out in order to make them come see you. That's what Jerry Rice did. I saw this boy playing in college, man. And his quarterback threw for so many yards, it was unbelievable. He didn't even get drafted, but Jerry Rice did. Willie Satellite Totten didn't get drafted. But it's them kids' decision, man.
Yes, Tanaya, and how you doing this evening? She says, let's bring the story back to the original topic instead of this BS. And I mean, that's really all I was saying. We got all off into the man or the little boys playing abilities and he ain't no good. And, he wants to go play for them over there. And I was just basically saying that he wanted to change the narrative, and we done dug all off and just, undressed them in the middle of the street. But that's why I hate to say it, y'all gonna get mad. I don't care. That's unfortunately what we do. And that's kind of why we are where we are, is because I wasn't even talking about his playing abilities. I was saying he wanted to change the narrative, and y'all ain't gonna have it. The TV stations now, they wants to be all of that. It's like, come on.
I think one of the biggest sports voices in the world that we respect, which is Shannon Sharp. I'd love to see Deion have that talk with him, because Shannon came from an HBCU. Shannon is in the Hall of Fame, and his brother Sterling should be in there too. But Shannon gonna tell him the truth. When you go to an HBCU, you're going to have to ball out.
I mean, and let's think about this, Demetri. I'm just thinking, like I said, I don't follow Shaq, and I'm not really a college football fan unless it's USC. How many people are actually going to follow Shaq's son? I mean, if they even know who he is, even to begin with. Like I said, I've never heard of Shaq's son. I know when he was in high school, I heard that he had kids that play. Most athletes do, but I haven't heard anything about like, oh, well, he's going to go to HBCU. That's great, but if I don't know if I don't know he's there, how am I going to follow him to a HBCU? How would I do that? That's my question.
Maybe if you locate his other two kids, they located in Baton Rouge with the LSU Tigers. The other son and the daughter. And he's Shaq, and he played at LSU. He a legend. He's not that good. So
that argument to me sounded like, oh, well, I want freedom, but I don't want to die for it. Somebody else gonna have to do it. Freedom ain't free. Somebody gonna have to take the sacrifice to change the narrative. So I mean, it's like if nobody's gonna do it, then what's the point? Like the HBCUs, we know that they are underfunded and a whole host of other issues. We already know that. But the point that
they stealing the money.
Hey, what you think the white universities are doing?
They stealing the money and ain't getting caught.
There you go. Okay, so they all stealing the money. But again, that's still besides the point. The point being, and I saw, he says, right, Gary, you're absolutely right about HBCUs. My daughter has a grades and she's an athlete, but the HBCUs were the last to reach out with far less money, if any. But again, you are proving the point that if other athletes who have some sort of a spotlight go to these HBCUs and then more other athletes follow, then the money will follow. I mean, to me, it's simple math, and I suck at math. It's just like, you connect the dots, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't understand why we are having a disconnect, but I do understand, because I think it's just second nature, maybe it's first nature for us as Black people to zone in on how can I debunk this and what he's saying ain't true.
No, you just said athletes that have a shine about them. I have not heard about this child of Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know who he is.
But we talking about it now, though. So clearly he's got some sort. His daddy's got the shine. His daddy got the shine.
You just said athletes that have a shine on them would cover. Now, let's just hypothetically say I would agree with you if this was Michael Jordan, this college phenom, coming out of high school. He's this great player that everybody's heard about, right? Everybody wants to draft him. He decides to go to HBCU. I mean, he's got the Sports Illustrated article, all this stuff. He's the next great one, the next LeBron or whatever. I would agree with you. I've never heard of this kid. I've never heard of him.
If it was Kermit the Frog's second removed cousin saying it, does it make the narrative untrue?
Yes.
How? How does it make the narrative untrue?
I never heard of the kid. Look, I was wait. I was balling at RCC. I was balling at RCC.
You missed what I said, brother. You missed what I said. You missed what I said. I said if it was Kermit the Frog's second removed cousin, does it make the narrative untrue? Or does it make it true?
No.
And what he said?
No.
How? How does it make it not true?
It doesn't.
How?
It just doesn't.
No, that ain't an answer, brother. How does it? You
it doesn't. On, I don't know who this guy is.
It ain't what you know, it's what you can prove. So
Right.
how does
I don't know who this guy is. I was balling at RCC. How many people
We
followed
ain't
me?
talking about you. We ain't talking about you. We talking about Shakir.
Never heard of him.
You have heard of him because we talking about him now.
No, never heard of him on a national level. I don't see him on ESPN. I've never heard of him.
But see, just take the L on this one, okay? Because you never heard of him, that don't make the narrative not true.
It's like you know, Bronny James and Dwayne Wade's son, Zaire. Dwayne Wade got so pissed off one day because one of these sportscasters told him, your son is really not that good. But because that was his son and the father's going to be that way, he stood up for his boy. But he was just telling him the truth. He's not that good. And I'm just being honest with you. I love Shaq. I've always loved Shaq. His days at LSU, when he came out of San Antonio cold, when he was a big old something, and what he said at his Hall of Fame speech. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, when Shaq got to LSU, he was not the man. Let's get that straight. He was not the man. Chris Jackson was the man. Makmal Abdul Rauf was the man at LSU. But the thing is some of these kids just don't, and that's something that y'all preach out there in war zone land. And all these kids, they need to focus on their academics because a lot of them ain't gonna make it. And that includes superstar sons too. That second generation of kids, a lot of them don't make it. Michael Jordan's sons were garbage. Flat out garbage.
That is a red herring. That is beside the point of the original. The original point. The point was he's saying that he wants to change the narrative. Whether he's good, he's bad, and you've heard of him, you haven't. Like, this is simple, like debate 101. Stay on topic. Those are all red herrings, what y'all throwing up in there.
No, it's not. Roger
yes,
says
it is.
this.
How is it not?
Listen to this. Demetra discusses the overall concept of college sports. Myself and Five Star are discussing the reality of college sports, two different viewpoints.
And so to that comment, he just proved my point. Y'all done went all off into his playing abilities and all of that, and we're just staying here. Y'all went here. I'm like, the guy is saying he wants to change the narrative, and hopefully other people will follow. And y'all went y'all tore the man down.
This is a topic that you wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna ask you in front of all these people, why aren't these black kids going to HBCUs?
Y'all ever see that Abbott and Costello? I think it was Abbott and Costello when they said, well, who's on first? I don't know. This is what I feel like. Because you went right back to the original point as to
no, but my point is that you know, I think that you are well versed in a lot of subjects and you can blow it out the water. I asked you a simple question. Why these kids ain't going to HBCUs?
Again, who's on first, right? And I say that to say is you ask me why they're not going to HBCUs, but yet y'all two sat up and went all the way around the corner when this guy is saying, I want to change the narrative and maybe other people will follow. So they are not going, as you guys have all said, there's the lack of funding and, you know, the sports programs and a whole host of other things. But to his original point, if he goes, maybe, and the word he used was probably, that was the exact word he used, it probably will follow, and I want to change the narrative.
Okay, so are you saying that nobody is playing at these HBCUs? There's already kids there playing. Point to the part of this live that I said that nobody was going to an HBCU. Nowhere. That's what I'm saying. If there's already players there that are going there to play sports, how is he going to change the narrative and he's not really that good? How is he going to change the narrative?
Because do you know who his daddy is?
Don't care.
Yeah, well, see, but you to say don't care, that's lazy.
No, it's not, because his daddy doesn't matter. His daddy doesn't matter.
But we've spent the majority of this show talking about it, so it did something. I saw it trending. So, so clearly his daddy being who he is has some credence because it is being discussed.
Well, that's like people who think because you buy some Jordans, magically you're going to be a better basketball player. You're not Michael Jordan. You're not Prince. You're not Michael Jackson. We don't care who his daddy is when it comes down to it. One of the greatest players that ever played. He had the crossover. And he has a son playing right now for New York Knicks. Nobody cares who his dad was. Dad was great. It's what his ability can do. Nobody cares what his dad did.
If you make the correlated to rap music, Shaq is Rakim. His son is Kodak Black.
Y'all still to throw y'all a bunch of red herrings tonight. Y'all need to come to my course of how to debate. Okay, you guys have hijacked the narrative with something that was totally off. That wasn't even included at all.
Wait, Pioneer says Demetra wants them to concede to her point. She doesn't know the male mindset as well as I thought she did. So that's pretty much it.
What else is on the menu?
What's your other topic?
Okay, elsewhere in the news.
Yeah, I remember the crazy girl that tried to get into the Capitol got killed.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't remember her name, but y'all remember that when they had the insurgents, when they tried to overthrow the government on January 6th, there was a young white lady that ended up getting shot by the police. Well, her family today decided that they would file a $10 million lawsuit because that she was wrongfully murdered. They didn't have to murder her. So, I think I'm going to call a spade tonight. Bullshit. You're lucky the rest of them behind her ain't get killed. The woman was at the door trying to tear the door down like a wolf. She was a wild wolf. And he put that heat in her ass right there at the door.
Well, let me give you a little background. So this woman was a 14-year Air Force veteran. As you know, a lot of the insurrectionists were either military affiliated or had a military background. And a lot of them had police affiliation as well. So I just want to say this, and I've been saying this, and this is when white folks are on a different planet, because what do you expect to happen if you're trying to overthrow a government? As a matter of fact, for these people to even be charged with crimes, to me, is a waste of taxpayer dollars. You were there, you did this, you should all be shot and put up against a wall and shot in the back of the head as an example to anybody else who tries this stuff unconstitutionally. You don't like the government, vote the people out. So once again, this is a power play in regards to putting money in these people's pockets and white supremacy. If they even hear this case, if they even try to hear this case, I mean, lunacy, it just prevails. It just prevails. If you try in any insurrection, you're just shot. There is no trials.
She should have stopped resisting.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy part is, and Eric, I agree with you. She'll probably win. Her family will probably win. The white woman, they more than breached the Capitol, right? Because as we learned, they were going in there to try to kill people. They were trying to string up Mike Pence, the vice president, and find Nancy and Maxine and everybody else. And so it's like, if you're on the other side of that door and you see a whole bunch of lunatics trying to get in there, I mean, you're gonna shoot them. And nobody really knows what she was saying to them as she's, in the window. Maybe she's like, I'm coming to kill you. I don't know. She seemed like a raving lunatic. And I think that, and the officer was clear, right? Wasn't he clear? So it's like, come on, man, you should have told your daughter or whoever it was to you, listen, you need to stay your ass at home, okay?
Well, think about this. Yeah, the officers were clear. They're not going to bring any charges against the officer because he was doing his job. What's the point of having security, knowing these people walking around with guns and they don't want to shoot? A lot of them didn't shoot when they should have. Like I said, if that was anybody else, bodies would have been laid everywhere. What do we do when this country was attacked in 9/11? We've been in Afghanistan for over 20 years, killing and maiming. Come to find out, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. How many Iraqis are dead?
Well, I tell you what, I saw this comment. I want to see what y'all opinion is on it. I saw Dr. Candace Matthews on the news today. She was speaking about police brutality against a man arrested with expired tags at Slab Weekend. Now, if y'all know, they changed the law in the state of Texas. These fly candy cars with the rims poking out, you know, they way out there now. They ain't like they used to be. Real 84s didn't stick out like that. So now they can give you a ticket, they can tow your car, the whole nine. And I love the good doctor. She good people. But, you know, we keep it real here, don't we? We keep it 100. Because they changed the law, that means your husband can't pull his slab out the garage either. So for me, it's what it is. I mean, if you ride around them slabs, most likely somebody finna try to snatch you up out of it. They're going to try to kill you. You know, if that's what you want to do, it's a classical car to you. I get it. But some days they're more of a hindrance than they are when you out there trying to deal with regular traffic with a regular car. You see what I'm saying? So I think if that law has changed, I think it changed for the best, because a lot of cats getting killed over these cars. You know, it is what it is. What's your opinion, Donovan?
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is. Well, again, we're in a democracy. Majority votes rules. What, you know, even if the rule or the law was unjust, what are we going to do about it anyway? Nothing. We don't do nothing about voter suppression or whatever else, you know, that's bothering us. We just let it happen and we just roll with it. We're just like, where's the fish fry? But also today in Texas, didn't they just pass a law in regards to concealed carry or something for the state would deal with the guns?
I didn't keep up with it, but I know that law that you're talking about where you don't need to have a permit to conceal anymore. And I think that you need to be very, very careful if that's the case. I think that is not going to work in African American space. You got a gun on you and you ain't got no paperwork, and you know it just doesn't sit well with me. But I don't hear black lawmakers making a lot of noise about it. You see what I'm saying? I don't hear them making a lot of noise about it. So I don't like that law to a certain degree. Also believe in Second Amendment rights. Nobody should take our guns. You ain't gonna take mine anyway. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's too much going on out here. You ain't finna take nothing from me, because I gotta protect my household, and that's what it boils down to.
Okay, so I didn't even know what a slab was. I actually went and saw the video, and the slab is the souped up cars is the word I can think of, and they have those long like spokes sticking out of they look like cones. They're sticking out of the rims. And since I've been in Texas, I saw that, and I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've seen. One of them, besides the eyelashes on a car, and I'm thinking too, that's very dangerous. What if somebody gets close to you and you? I just didn't get the point of that. Okay, but let's just go ahead and concede this point. Yes, police brutality is absolutely wrong, especially if they pulled him over for expired tags. So, okay. I just want to make some sense of something real quick. Okay, follow me. You're driving a car that says, "See me, look at me," and your tags are expired. So it's like make it make sense. You maybe shouldn't have pulled the slab out of the garage until your tag. And again, I'm not making excuses saying he should have been brutalized, but I think it's twofold here. One, I think we should say, hey, you know what, brother, you know goddamn well your tags expired. Don't go out there, because you know you a black man in a souped up car with some shit that's popping out the wheels and your tags expired. Just on the strength of you being a black man, they gonna mess with you. Get your ride right. Now, they probably was going to mess with him anyway, so let's concede that too. But it's like we got to start having those conversations with each other. Get your tags right, man. Get your tags right. You're driving an attention-seeking car. But I just think too, sometimes we advocate for the wrong shit. Now, he should be advocating for him not getting beat up and all. I don't see how you getting pulled over for expired tags. At least you getting beat up. But I think we should also have those other conversations like, man, get your tags. Get your car registered.
Let's have another conversation. This happened during Slab Weekend for George Floyd in Austin, Texas. So how's that working out for us? How's that working out for George? A slab ride for George. What did it accomplish? We've had slab rides in Houston now. What me and Dr. Muhammad created were peace rides. The same thing that they do in Los Angeles with Brother Tony Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. But in Los Angeles, they get the street gangs, they get the Nation of Islam, they get the motorcycle clubs, and they have a legitimate peace ride. All this, and I'm so sick of it with all this stuff that's going on to celebrate George, and these people just using this boy's name and his image up and ain't accomplishing nothing. A slab ride is not going to change the narrative of a cop with his knee on your neck. Why don't y'all go do a slab ride in Missouri City, Texas, where Constable Darryl Smith is, because he did the same thing that Chauvin did. But I guess because he black, we ain't gonna call him out.
Kiki Will says, what do y'all think about the situation about the juror in the Chauvin trial, how they went back and dug dudes passed up? Yeah, well, think about this, Kiki. I mean, if you're paying for an attorney over $1 million, by the way, the Bureau, and he has all these resources with $1 million, that I want him to do everything he needs to do. I mean, I wouldn't doubt if every one of those jurors, they went and did a search on them and just to find anything to get that person Chauvin off the hook, or just to get a retrial. Because I mean, you've got the video. If I was a lawyer, and I'm not, the 5-star is working on becoming a lawyer, that would be just such a hard trial to defend. I just couldn't see no other way other than trying to find anything to just, to give my client a chance. What do you think, 5-star?
Well, I told you yesterday how I felt from a legal standpoint, but I'm not going to knock Chauvin's attorney because he's supposed to file an appeal. He's supposed to do everything that he can do to help his client get out of that situation. I'm not saying that he needs to get out of it, but that's what you pay attorneys to do. Fight the battle till there's no battle left to fight. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I told y'all yesterday how I felt. It's due process, a violation of due process. And with that being said, I mean, it can go either way. I don't think, I researched a little bit today on it. I don't think it'll go in Chauvin's favor. It'll be a tough fight, but it's going to be hard for that judge to sit up there and ignore the obvious. I'm just telling you. And I don't think the city of Minnesota or the United States of America can just sit on pins and needles to go through a whole nother trial like that. I don't see it. And I don't think you're going to find a jury that can honestly say, I don't know anything about this case. And if they saying that from a juror standpoint, they flat out lying. The question is can you make an impartial decision? Regardless if we like Chauvin or not, he was entitled to due process and they violated.
I guess that's really, to be determined whether it was violated or not. I mean, it'd be different to me if it was a case that nobody had really heard of, but come on. Martians was talking about this shit on the moon, or on Mars rather, So
they was, because remember on January 6th, they was landing spacecrafts on Mars. The Martians really was talking about it.
So to that point, where was they going to take the trial that nobody heard about it? So I get it. It was a technicality. They had to file it. They have 14 days after the verdict to file an appeal. So that's why they did it. But of course, even during the trial, a lot of pundits were saying that the prosecution had to be careful because the defense is also looking for loopholes to use for their appeal. And so they didn't really give them much. But so now you have this juror. And then now you're saying, he wouldn't move the venue. But again, where was he going to move it to?
Yeah, they're even bringing up the malfeasance of the what was the guy from Baltimore, the doctor that left, and they wanted to bring in the other stuff. and the judge was like, no, we're not letting that come in because you had your opportunity and you blew it?
Well, he gave them an opportunity during that particular day. He says, if you bring up new evidence in regards to this doctor, because it was about the carbon monoxide. It was about the carbon monoxide, and the prosecution didn't get a chance to debunk it. And so the judge admonished him and saying, if you bring into new evidence in regards to that you should have did yesterday when the doctor was here, I am going to call a mistrial. And so they didn't do that. So that's not on the table. What's on the table is the juror with at the march and the T-shirt and the venue and oh gosh.
And it's the fact that he lied on his pre-juror questionnaire.
Did he lie? That's the question. Did he lie? And they'll have to prove that he
the Negro lied.
Well, that's to be determined. Did he lie? Was he honest in saying that he went, that he didn't go protest police brutality? Was he really there? Because see, there's a lot of things that are true. And it's true that march was to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. So that was true. So it'd be different if that wasn't true at all. But that was true. And he's saying that's why he went. So then you have to re-ask the question. Was he lying? And did he intentionally lie? Because in his mind, he's probably like, well, yeah, I went to the March on Washington, but it was to commemorate the Martin. See what I'm saying? So they'd have to prove he was flat out lying when he said that. Like maybe they have a video of him saying, you know, F the police, F12, or, you know, something like that. So they have to be able to prove that he intentionally lied.
Or basically, basically what you're saying is he's at the Martin Luther King thing, and so happens George Floyd's family's there making statements and things like that. And, you know, it's like he didn't expect that to happen. Something incidental that came up.
They'd have to prove he was lying.
Well, you know, being in a law frame of mind, I would ask him questions that I know he would answer the right way. Do you remember, are you familiar with when Al Sharpton stood on the corner of 38 in Chicago and outlined what that march on, that commemorative march on Washington would be? He would answer, no, I don't know anything about it. So you don't know anything about it? No, I don't know anything about it. I wasn't there. I don't know what Sharpton said. Man, them people finna go dig up all this shit where they was telling folk what that. And more importantly, we're now going to depend on a system that's not designed to work in our favor for this juror that ran his mouth a little bit too much.
But again, there's a couple of things that's true. It was about police brutality, and it was to commemorate. It was the day of the March on Washington. So, you know, you'd have to say that he was lying when he said that. So, I mean, again, he could be in the 10% of the appeals that actually get heard. And even if they get heard, that doesn't mean it's going to be overturned. So he's got a lot of things working against him. Also, you got to remember that trial was very expensive, not just on the defense side where the union paid $1 million, but for the city of Hennepin County or whatever, in general, that was very expensive.
But then we just talking about this dude, but then you got the other juror who said that she made her decision because she lived in Brooklyn Park where Dante Wright was killed, and she was sick of the riots. You're violating his due process rights. They need to understand. See, they don't understand what the hell they doing.
But see, the thing is too, again, those two things can be true at the same time. She could be sick of the riots, but still be impartial. Now, if that was an issue, then his lawyer would have put that in their motion for a new trial, and he didn't do that.
Well, he could always appeal in his third year in prison, and when he comes up for parole, he could always bring that up.
But is Hennepin County ready for another trial? If it comes down to that, is the United States of America ready to go through this again? You see what I'm saying? Because if you go through this again and it's a different outcome, it's going to be the same outcome it was going to be. And I'm going to be honest with you. I honestly don't feel I could have sat on that jury and made an impartial decision. I don't feel I could have. But these people want to be in these high profile cases. They will get their ignorant ass up there and say anything just to be up there. Now, where the other 10 jurors? They laying low hiding. They ain't saying nothing. Because these two clowns done ran their mouth.
Well, you got to also remember that I guess the litmus test, I can't think of another word, that they were looking for was a reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt. And so it was the job of the defense to plant doubt by bringing forth their evidence, and they didn't plant doubt in the minds of the jurors, or at least one juror. So, I mean, I just think most people who sat on that jury probably like, this man is guilty as sin. But let's see what the defense brings up. Maybe it wasn't because of Chauvin that, George died. Maybe they'll present something that was an aha moment. They didn't do that. So, I mean, like I said, most people probably sat there and was like, yeah, he guilty. But it was the job. It wasn't the job of the defense it was actually the prosecution had the burden of proof, but it was also the job of the defense to plant doubt, and they did not do that.
Let me put Pioneer's comment up. It's obvious that Chauvin deprived Mr. Floyd of his constitutional right to life and liberty. Now I'm going to play devil's advocate. By these people doing the things that they've done and said what they said, they are depriving Chauvin of his constitutional right to due process. It goes both ways. The best thing they could have did was just shut the hell up. But now they giving these people them loopholes you talked about, D and Donovan. They giving them the loopholes.
I mean, but is it a viable loophole? And like Tanaya said, the other woman, she wasn't picked, but she gave her opinion. I mean, it's not unusual for jurors to give an interview after the trial is over and speak, their piece of what was on their mind. It's not unusual. But again, I think we need to realize, first and foremost, it's a technicality that his lawyer had to do that. And of course, he wants to give it his best shot. He doesn't just want to file an appeal and says, well, I think. Of course, he's going to say, okay, well, this happened and that happened. So his name was something Mitchell, the guy, juror number 6. Did they give the defense a Hail Mary? Probably. But is it going to net anything? That is the question.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, Demetra. It has been over a year in the Ahmaud Arbery situation, and locally he has not been charged with a crime yet. The federal government had to come in and file civil rights charges against him, violations against him. What are your thoughts in regards to Ahmaud Arbery, and why is it taking so long for the local jurisdiction to charge him with a crime?
Well, I think if we know some of the facts of the case, those good old boys, if you will, they were in like Flynn with the police department there. The police came originally and was like, oh, there's nothing here, right? Because we didn't even hear about it until a month after it happened. So originally they let it go because one of them worked for I think he was a detective or retired.
Yeah, no, he was an investigator. He had retired previously.
So he was buddies with the police. And so I'm sure they came was like, well, if you thought he was breaking into the house, it's a good kill to me. So that's why it took them so long. But I mean, how do you convict and charge your friends? They let them get away with murder until and then they released the video thinking they was doing something. And then when people saw it, they was like, wait a minute, this was a lynching. That's how they got in trouble. But originally they were cleared.
And the district attorney lady lost her seat within this last year, and charges still haven't been filed. So Five Star, as a attorney, upcoming attorney, what are your thoughts on that in regards to civil rights violations in the Ahmaud Arbery case?
99% of these things that we look at, they are civil rights violations. I think that, and I've always said it, we're not getting the justice because they are taking the money. And when they pay them, that's their justice to some of them. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor was just a travesty. You see what I'm saying? That showed you right there. But you know what? I want to send a shout out to my good friend Samir Rice, who's still running and gunning to get her son's case back open. You know, the Department of Justice needs to reopen this case. You see what I'm saying? But that's a mama who she understands where she messed up. You see what I'm saying? And she's still fighting for her baby. I want to send a shout out to Drafeted Pellerin's family, who just flat out refused to take a quarter. They want the justice. And see, when you don't take the money, it takes you a little bit longer to get the justice. You feel what I'm saying? So I just think that, man, Ben Crump is an ambulance chaser, and he really screws up a lot of cases more than he could ever help them. You know, and I think that Mr. Crump, you're going to get your money regardless, homie. You're going to get paid. But you really just messing up the justice side of it. If we don't take them, where the hell you fire somebody? You feel what I'm saying? You fire them, but you say they ain't did nothing wrong. Then you pay the family out, but they ain't did nothing wrong. That don't even sound right. So I think Crump messes it up more than he could ever help it, man. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know I'm ready for final thoughts. And my final thought is, you guys lose and I won. I'm the debate champion of the world. Take those L's and give me your lunch.
Final thought. My final thought is, again, you know, we got a lot of people that still need justice being done. And I agree with 5 Star. We have to get the justice first. The money's going to be there regardless. And I think if you get the justice first, it's a slam dunk to get the money. So I'm going to do that. And, you know, again, you know, Dimitri, it was a good debate. But like I said, when you're debating men, we're not going to concede the point. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to do it. So that was a good debate.
I don't lose them. I mean, if I lost them, I lost them. I just know I went to school right across the street from Texas Southern University. I played on the greatest team in the country that year, no matter what, and they ain't walk across the street and recruit none of us. None of us. HBCUs, if you want them, go get them. HBCUs, if you want them, upgrade your facilities. And Coach Prime, last thing I'm gonna tell you, big homie, because you know I got love for you, Coach. And I want this to get to you because I know it's gonna get to you. I got some folk. Shut your mouth and win some football games. Because if not, you're gonna be a Hall of Famer on your way out the door at Jackson State. I promise you. Say, man, it's a reason we the best in the business. It's the war zone. I want to thank my good friend Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetri K, and I am the 5-star general. Say it's a whole lot of money stuff going on. And tomorrow night we got the money man in the building, Walter Couture. So if you black and you trying to get your muscle up, you really searching for the bag. He might be back from the desert building spaceships, but I'm gonna tell you something. He gonna give you the game, cause that's what we doing. He don't even charge you to give you the game. Until tomorrow night, we'll holler at you.